Hey folks, Lee Martin here from Rally Connex. Welcome back to another episode of I'm in the Shop. As you can see, we've got the Yeti on the desk. Today we're talking about servicing the soft strut suspension. Let's get started.
Dear God. Who put that there?
Okay, so let's talk about soft struts. What is a soft strut versus just the standard strut? The soft strut is almost like a small shock absorber, where inside there is a rubber spacer in there. And when this is married up to your dirt bike, much like a rear shock does, it'll compress. It doesn't compress a lot. Like this may compress half of that stroke length before it's fully compressed, or it should be anyways. And small little movements up here make for enormous movements way back here. So it's meant basically to help keep the back of the track tracking the ground better, okay? So that when you're hitting whoops or choppy stuff, the track, not only will the suspension for the track make a difference, but it'll also move and on the back of your bike so it's not rigid. Some of you may have a solid strut or a rigid strut, and that's basically just this kind of threaded turnbuckle in a way. It's solid. You would basically set your track setup on the back of your bike with adjusting the length of these rods on both ends and so on and so forth. Whereas the soft strut, you have one adjustment at the top and to get the track to sit the way you want to sit on the bike, which we'll talk about in another episode. But in the meantime, I'm going to take the pages out of one of my fellow ambassadors and team guys from Yeti, Cody Madchuk. He talked about servicing this. It's a great video. If you can't find it, then have a listen to this one. We're going to first take this off the kit. When you work on these kits, you get a lot of creaking. All right. So what I have zip tied here on the top is basically just a spacer that allows it to fit into this particular bike, which is a 2025 KTM 500. Let's talk about the internals of this thing and what all those parts look like. Okay, so there's nothing really that intricate about this system. It's not filled with oil or pressurized gases like a regular shock is on a dirt bike. Basically inside here there's a large rubber spacer. Basically looks like this. It's just a big rubber, hard as a rock, but it's there. And it sits in there like so. What happens is when you compress the bike and it compresses the soft strut, it basically acts like a rubberized spring in a way inside. So the more things you hit and the more you ride through the season, this rubber will get smaller and compress and compress and compress more and more and more. There's two different things you can do. First thing, take out the old compressed one and replace it with a new one. All's good in the world. What if they're not available? What if you can't get it in time and you're going riding tomorrow and all you have is a hardware store around the corner? What you can do, and we'll show you when we pull this apart, is you can take your old rubber that is slightly shorter than your new one. See the distance and the gap? Find a washer that's the exact same size as this. Place it in there, and now take up the gap, and all of a sudden you'll have your track height sitting back at where it needs to be again. So that is a super cool tip that I learned from Cody Madchuk. Thanks, man. That would really help me in a bind. If you ride 15 times a year or 20, you're going to wind up having to replace these at the end of the season. How do we open this up and do that service? Pretty simple. I'm just going to put a set of pliers. I don't have a wrench that fits onto this end of this red piece here. As you can see, I've had it on and off a few times. I think I even used channel locks at one point. So yeah, I mean, unless you're going to get the exact wrench that fits that width, you're going to have marks. But I don't care because I just want it to work. I don't care if it looks all super pretty. Put either this in a vise or a set of pliers, and then grab onto this red piece and unthread it, and it'll simply just separate apart from here, and you'll be able to pull that rubber sleeve out from the inside, or the bushing, or whatever you want to call that, and replace it. So let's get started. Okay, so vise, shock. You can use soft jaws if you want to protect the finish on the shock. I'm just going to put mine in there. I'm not going to crank on it, guys. It is notched, so it will fit like a wrench, and it just needs to hold it in place. Not very tight at all. These adjustable pliers should do the job. Just make sure they fit perfect. Nothing funky. It's not a reversible thread. Nothing like that. And as long as a monkey didn't ram it on there, so you don't have to worry about anything springing out or anything flying out all over the place. Like so, okay? So there's the inside of the bottom part. And there's our rubber strut. And you can tell right by the lip alone how this bottom piece has been pushing and crushing and crushing and pushing into that this is definitely not going to be in spec. So it's going to be a little bit short. So again, if I'm going to use that washer, we put it on and off we go. In this case, we're going to replace it. So let's see how far out of spec it is. Here's the rubber bushing that we took out of the soft strut. Here's a brand new one. We'll line the bottoms up. And as you can see, there is a great amount of difference in there. Like quite a bit. Again, that trick with the washer that Cody taught us would definitely correct that in a pinch if you didn't have a replacement. So here's our replacement. Before we just jam this in there, let's inspect the inside of our soft strut, have a look around. So here's the bottom section in here, right, that we're talking about. Okay, besides a little bit of surface rust from the pins and everything, things are looking good. The bushing at the bottom is still free and loose, so it can rock back and forth because it does a little bit in the bike. Then you have, I don't know what I'd call it, it's called a piston, for lack of a better term. It should be free and smooth. So you should be able to take this collar and go up and down and not feel any type of resistance. I don't know how you'd get that scratched, but we all find ways to mess stuff up. So making sure that that is smooth. Inspect the O-ring around it, right? Just make sure there's no rips or tears or it doesn't look flattened or squished. And then this top piece here, you just want to make sure that it's not cracked or broken. It is a piece of plastic housing in there with some metal spacers. And we have a little bit of corrosion up in the top going on there. That's pretty much from moisture. So this will get hot. Your shock will get warm as it comes in and out as you're bouncing down the trail or boondocking. So when you get something that's really hot, and then all of a sudden it gets cold by sitting for a few minutes and then getting hot again, getting cold, condensation happens and rust starts to form. So this is definitely still fine. I have no concerns about that. But I would probably think it would be a great idea to put just a little bit of some anti-corrosion fluid on this before you put it back together to try to keep the corrosion at bay. Okay, just a little bit of grease. Just a tiny, tiny little bit. It'll just help it. It'll help separate the moisture from it. And it'll just keep it from corroding. Just a light skin of it, guys. You don't want to soak it by any means. There, that helps. So there's one other corrosion point that's inside of your soft strut that you have to be mindful of. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a small little bead of grease around that O-ring. That'll help it slip in when I put it back together. Inside is as long as it comes out, a small block of metal here. Has a rubber bushing in the top of it, right here. This rubber bushing stops the metal from mushrooming inside the top of the the internal cone of this. And then as you can see, we've got some rubber debris from bouncing around or squishing. Just going to put a little bit of grease on that. Just get it moist. But as you can tell, there's a considerable amount of corrosion on the outside of this. I can feel it. It's rough. It doesn't feel very nice. So if you have a wire wheel, you can definitely get that rust off of there and clean it up before you put it back together. Okay, just gently hitting it, taking off that bumpy rust, cleaning it up. And then again, I'm just going to apply a little bit of the grease here to that. And that will just help it keep the corrosion off until the next time I open this up and service it. So that's it. Then just take your rubber soft strut bushing, place it back in there, then just put back in your other section. Again, like so. So I'll have to put that back in the vise to tighten it up. Don't wrench the daylights out of it. Just get it right to the end and just a little, and that's all. Quick episode of I'm in the shop, but it definitely, I think, helps you guys out. Thanks again very much to Cody Manichuk for his tech tip on the washer. And that's it. We'll see you guys out in the trails.
Who put that there?